Wouldn't it be nice to be able to teach your kids while they're sleeping? Today's guest says it is possible, especially when it comes to behaviors like bedwetting, not going to bed, and difficult emotions. You will love this episode if you wish for a way to slide under the radar to teach your kiddo in a less direct way and have it work, at least for some of the millions of topics that we actually want to teach them. So join today to learn about a method that has been around for a long time, but was new to me, and it's called SleepTalk. Does your child have a speech-language delay and you really want them to talk? Do difficult behaviors derail home life and you know the frustration is a communication struggle? Does your child see a speech therapist and you wonder, what do they do and how can I help? If these or similar questions are in your mind, this podcast is for you. Hello, my name is Dinalynn Rosenbusch. I am a speech-language pathologist that has worked with children from birth to 21 for 3 decades. And in my classrooms, I see you wanting to connect with the heart of your child, but their speech and language skills create a barrier. So if you have a kiddo that has difficult behaviors, needs to expand their language or learn to say speech sounds, and maybe even receives speech therapy, stay tuned, because in this podcast, you will learn how to use your daily life as a tool to communication practice and how to do that practice. You will become confident knowing you are making the difference you want to make. And you will hear success stories of parents who have navigated these struggles already. We'll do this all while focusing on building deep, meaningful connection and confidence in your kiddo. So grab a cup of coffee along with a notebook and pen. It's time to speak in the way your child's brain understands. And that is the language of play. As we get started, I want to give a shout out to Lebanon and my Lebanese listeners. Thank you for listening and sharing the show. I love that you're getting the help and support that the language of play is providing. And in Lebanon, we are the number 4 of all parenting podcasts this week in your country. That is just so fun to know that we are impacting families from around the globe to build connection and communication skills at home. And the fact that you're listening tells me that you are specifically looking for speech, language, and listening skills. So thank you for sharing. And please continue to share this show with other families who also have kids that are learning to speak and listen better. I have a free gift for all listeners in the show notes, and it is titled 5 Ways to Get Your Kids to Listen Better. You will receive 6 consecutive emails over 6 days. The first one has an overview of the 5 most popular strategies we use, particularly with kids that are struggling with attention. And then you get an explanation of each one on the subsequent emails. I've been getting beautiful feedback from many people who are receiving these strategies, so I hope you take advantage of this free offer. Some of you have been trying all kinds of things to get your child to say a particular sound or to be understood. And you may even have asked your pediatrician or speech therapist what to do. But you want to do something now and not wait. You know that earlier that you help them, the better. Their young brains are ripe for this kind of growth now. You want to see a decrease in frustration, that communication frustration that they experience when you don't understand them. You want to see your child communicate with confidence. And you want to stop worrying about the what-ifs around their future and their growth, both emotionally and speech-wise, like linguistically. You know that as your child grows in his confidence and his ability to learn sounds, that those things stack on each other as skills. And if these things reflect how you feel, you can either email me at hello@thelanguageofplay.com, or you can simply go to my calendar and book yourself on a call with me so we can discuss how and if we might be a fit to work together. I'm so glad you're here, listeners. And now let's get into this episode today with Kerre Burley, on Sleep Talk on this pre-recorded interview. Kerre Burley is an award-winning international speaker and trainer, CEO of the International Sleep Talk Training Organization, and the owner of Creating Functional Families. Kerre is known for her expertise in the Sleep Talk process, family dynamics, and empowering parents in creating healthy, fun relationships. I love that. It lines up so much with play when you're talking about healthy families and healthy relationships. But I am really curious, what is Sleep Talk? But first, welcome, Kerre.
No, thank you, Dinalynn. I'm very pleased to be here. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Now, what in the world is Sleep Talk? It just sounds to me like you're going to tell me to sleep well. Like, what is Sleep Talk?
Well, look, it is what it says. It's actually a process that we teach to parents, Dinalynn, to talk to their children with specific phrases while the children are sleeping. And even though it has the connotations that it does help with sleeping, it helps with a variety of let's just say minor and major challenges, childhood challenges that parents go through, from everything from bedwetting to eating disorders to speech disorders to behavior, attitudes. It really just expands the I guess it's a great tool for parents because it does help them nice and safely and efficiently deal with some of these challenges that parents have every single day with
All
their
right.
kids.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds wonderful. But tell me an example of a practical application.
Yes, well, I'll give you the example with my own son. I basically started Sleep Talk. I have 5 children, Dinalynn, and I discovered Sleep Talk with my 5th. Now, I was astounded once I started the process with him, how much he just became so much more balanced, and I'd say happier in his little attitude. He certainly, and I had the privilege to then watch him grow up to be a man, and his childhood was so much more positive. It was so much more, he was such a curious boy. He was happy, he was grounded, he never let anything throw him, and mind you, there was a lot that we threw at him, and it was totally different from my other boys. And so it really is, that was just my experience, but we've had parents all over the world come back with changes in attitudes with the sibling rivalry. We've had parents who have all of a sudden starting to get kisses and cuddles from their children, which they never were doing before. So it's just a beautiful, I call it just a gift for life. It's just a beautiful process that any parent can learn to do.
All right. That sounds amazing. Tell me the process.
Well, the process is just learning that well, I'll start with a little bit of science, but not much, Dinalynn. And it's a process that really incorporates, we all know that children, when they're awake, sometimes they're a little bit resistant. They can be a little bit controlling, some children. It's a process that once a child goes to sleep, and I know they're restful, their subconscious mind is always listening, but their conscious mind is sleeping. Because we utilize their subconscious mind by just talking to the children when they're asleep. And people don't realize this, but children are listening. They can hear. Their subconscious mind is always listening. So what we do is just put some beautiful, loving, gorgeous statements in there. And over time, you'll find that children just get a knowing that they're okay. They just get a knowing that they loved. Consciously, they can't quite understand what it is, but that in turn changes some of the negative beliefs that perhaps are coming out in negative behavior or patterns or attitudes. We call it a bit of a miracle because parents
Mm.
are amazed at the changes, but it's just from a science called neuroplasticity. It's just from children starting to, on a subconscious level, feel loved, feel more comfortable with life. We get rid of some of the fears and anxieties that they don't even realize they have. And in turn, that changes behavior, it changes patterns. And it's really, really nice to see.
Yes, and listeners, this is exactly why I wanted Kerre on the show. Because when Kerre first told me this, it blew my mind. I think that that is absolutely fabulous that there's actually a program out there that does this. So, Kerre, tell me if I've got it right. We're talking to our children's subconscious mind while they're sleeping.
Yes,
And you, in your program, have developed specific language that you use to be able to move a child from like the behavior or the resistance that they have into cooperation or whatever you want them to do or learn. Is that right?
it is. It was designed over 50 years ago, Dinalynn, which many people don't even realize. And it was designed by a husband and wife who basically had let's just say a 7-year-old daughter, Michelle, who experienced some major changes in her life. Um, she literally had lots and lots of problems with speech. She was on the spectrum. She was extremely angry and extremely resistant during the day. And they just wanted to come up with something that would make her life more joyful. It certainly wasn't going to fix a lot of Michelle's problems. She's had those problems, will have those problems for all her life, but they wanted her to be more joyful and more settled. And literally that's how Sleep Talk began. Her speech improved, her behavior improved. You know, she literally is still around today. She still owns her own house. She's had a great life. She's traveled. But the Sleep Talk started, back in 1974. And it's known around the world, but not as much as I'd like it to be, because I think every parent should know about it. Every parent can utilize this to assist them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I am looking forward to digging into more of that. I think when we talked before, I we talked about how the idea of talking to the subconscious mind and reprogramming a neural network is something that we also do consciously in speech therapy. And
Exactly,
yeah,
yes.
and so I had a friend whose children were wetting the bed like at 8, 9 years old, and I said, "Can I come and spend the night with you and teach you how to talk with them while they're sleeping?" And within a week, it was done. Now, I didn't use the right system, perhaps, but it was close enough for that particular situation, for that particular event. What is the difference with the kind of languaging you use? Because I know you've got research that goes into the language you teach in your program for parents. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, absolutely. Look, it hasn't changed, Dina Lynn, since 50 years ago. We have 3 phases. We talk about the first phase, which is really just a foundation. We just set a really comfortable, with statements, we set a comfortable thing for the children and the parents to get used to. Then we have a phase 2, which is more like just, we call the first one foundation. So imagine phase 2 is just, again, getting the parents to continually repeat the same process, 3 to 5 minutes a night, every night for a few more weeks. And it just concretes, it just cements in that child does start, habits start dissipating, things start improving on the home front. And then we get to phase 3. Now, phase 3 is for those children that have major challenges. And you all know that could be children on the spectrum. It could be children that are really having challenges with sleeping and going to school and just socializing. And really, we tackle those one step at a time with specific language. You're right, with specific statements. In fact, we call them specific statements. Working with parents, just organizing what is the biggest challenge here. And then again, over time, we utilize that same statement. There's a science to it, and I don't want to go too much into it, Dinalynn, but the science is we certainly don't use persuasive language. We make sure that we're using positive language, and we make sure our statements last for a lifetime, which means that we really get in there and concentrate. A sleep talk consultant might take half an hour to come up with that perfect statement for that child or that family, and it's just directed that, again, we are talking to a computer. The child's subconscious is just a computer, and as you said, even speaking to them just in normal language is fine. But again, when we can actually think about what is the underlying cause, and that's what the sleep talk seems to address. It doesn't address the behavior. It doesn't address whatever the negative habit is. It gets to that underlying cause. And sometimes it's just the child's subconscious that even knows what it is. And so again, I love, you can tell I love what I do. I love talking about it. I think every parent should know about the sleep talk process and then tell other parents, because I think we'd have such it would be so great for so many families that are struggling, so many parents that are pulling their hair out to just realize, yes, there's other things we can do as well, but this is definitely a tool that should be utilized.
Mm. Yeah, I know I'm going to be telling people about it, and I'm going to try things with my grandson. Now, it's summertime. The the daytimes are long. Parents are trying to get their kiddos to sleep early. I know that Sleep Talk wasn't designed for sleep, yet I think at this point in time, you would probably have a strategy or something that you can help parents with in order to help their kids decide to fall asleep easier in these long daytimes. Am I right to assume this?
Oh, absolutely. In
Good.
fact, we work a lot with children who are sleep resistant. Parents can't get the children to sleep. Or then we also, on the other side, we work with children that have got the night terrors and that are sleeping in mum and dad's bed or cannot settle and go through the night. So it covers a lot. I think what tends to happen, and this is where Sleep Talk is a tool, but what is just as important for parents to understand is that, children need guidelines. And often when we're giving them guidelines, we've got to provide them with adequate reasons. And that comes back to, let's start building a really nice communication pathway with our child. And I find many parents that I work with, they demand that children go to bed at a certain time, and honestly, it's not the way to go, especially if you've got a child who is a little bit headstrong and who does like to basically answer back to you. So as we've got a problem like that and children won't get to bed, I think parents we can be so much smarter. We can just plan our day. Definitely get rid of those devices a couple of hours beforehand. Definitely start sitting down and talking, even reading a bedtime story to the smaller children, start settling them down. But then explaining to them, that we do need them to go to bed because they do, there's a big day planned tomorrow and they need to get their sleep. And again, having that communication and explaining that why is so important. It's almost like, especially with the longer days, I understand we don't get it down here in Australia, but I understand it's like getting children to go to bed, the night before Christmas. They're excited. They've had a big day. So it's really just focusing on, making sure your communication is great. Certainly, if you've been doing the sleep talk a few months beforehand, you'll find that the children will be more compliant and will be, a lot more relaxed and head off to bed a little bit easier.
Sure.
So a very long answer to your question. Absolutely, it can help.
Yeah, I know that a lot of kids, they can know the why from the perspective of mom said it, but not really understand why that matters because they're too young to really process all of that. So sleep talk sounds like it would be a very good way to help them to settle and just become cooperative because it works on the subconscious level, not that conscious choice level where the kid is saying, "What? What do you mean? I don't really get it."
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting, as I mentioned, my fifth son, was just a dream through his teenage years. And I had other children who were nightmares. But again, it was just like much more able to look at the world through a different pair of eyes. We really had none of the head clashing that I had with my other sons. And again, it was just, I believe that he just felt very comfortable in his little world, and I think Sleep Talk had a lot to do with that. Where the other, as many parents would know if they've got teenagers, there always seems to be that clash of control. We need to give them a little bit of space, but we don't want them off the rails. So we have to, find that happy medium. And Sleep Talk is just that nice tool that helps.
It sounds beautiful. How can children with communication issues and disabilities, like how does it work with Sleep Talk that will help with a communication struggle? Like if there's a language delay, how does that work? I mean, I'm understanding it from perspective of maybe bedwetting or sleeping or, some of these behavioral things, but I'm wondering about the communication.
Look, great question. That one of the things that Michelle had and the original designers of Sleep Talk was she had dyspraxia, and she basically could say no very well. But that was the only thing she could say. And when we really trace that back, a couple of years after doing Sleep Talk, she became known as, her nickname was Chatterbox. So literally over the course of a few years, that completely changed. And I do believe if we look at it in a bigger picture, that there are always fears. We have a lot of children who stutter. We have a lot of children who do selective mutism, who can speak but choose not to for whatever reason. Often when we dig down, it is a fear, and it's a fear that's been entrenched, and it has caused something to manifest in the child's subconscious. Now, it can be totally, we're not going to find out exactly what's caused it, but we do know that Sleep Talk will actually slowly over time unravel that fear. That fear will never go, but by putting positive affirmations over it and making that child feel that little bit more comfortable, you'll find that that's where, there's new, with neuroplasticity, there's new pathways done, there's new behaviors, and that does improve children's speech. And I must tell you, I've got a story. I told you I was a storyteller. We had a father whose son had been going to speech talk. He was 6, and his son had been having a speech therapy since he was 3 and doing okay, slowly improving. It was going great. But one of the behaviors the same boy used to do is every afternoon when the father would come home, the son would actually run along the corridor and slam the screen door shut and lock it. And of course, the father, he admitted to me that it was very cute when he was little, but over time, it just became a real annoyance that every time the dad come home, the door was slammed shut, and the mother would have to come and open the door. And the husband said he just felt sometimes that the little one didn't want to know him, wanted to lock him out. And he said after a few weeks of Sleep Talk, we had an occasion where he rang me up. The dad was so excited. The son had ran down the hallway, and dad was expecting the door to be locked again, but he ran straight through the door, pushed open the door, and ran out and gave his dad the biggest cuddle by the side of the car. And his dad said his knees nearly went on him. He was just so amazed by the difference. But not only that, the probably 2 months later, he was told by the speech therapist that they did not need him to keep going anymore. He'd actually just rocketed. His improvement had just skyrocketed to the point where he'd caught up. And I believe that, the Sleep Talk, there was just something there that was holding him back. There was some sort of fear. And once that was released, everything flowed. Now, of course, that's just a story, but we've got hundreds and hundreds over the course of 50 years of these improvements. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'd imagine you have thousands.
Well, I say hundreds because I've put a lot up on the website, and then at the end we just thought, we give up. There has been so many amazing things that happen, but Dinalynn, sometimes it's just the sheer simplicity of the process just blows people away. They don't believe it actually works. So you've got to actually go through the process, like I did with my son, to actually see the magic. It's a beautiful program, as you can see. I'm very passionate about it.
You are, you are. I'm curious now because I know that the power of the subconscious mind, and when you learn how to tap into it, you can make huge changes in your life. And that's true at any age. And when you talk about neuroplasticity, you're talking at any age. So does sleep talk work for every age too?
Well, we say 2 to 16, but it's interesting that you say that, because at the end of the day, the only reason we cap it at 16 is that we just believe that, children are now turning into adults. So whereas we don't tell the children that we're doing sleep talk, as they get into adulthood, I think it's important from a moral aspect that parents are telling the child what they are doing or giving them an option. Now, in saying that, we have had huge success with adults that have brain challenges, and sometimes a brain injured adult has been put to sleep talk, and that's made a huge effect on the family, and huge improvements. And we have also had a lovely consultant who used sleep talk on his mother when his mother was going through dementia and really having a hard time. And he reported back to us that it just settled her down. And the last couple of months of her life were just so peaceful. And he really thinks that the sleep talk made that huge difference. And you are right, Dinalynn. Years ago we were told our brain was our brain and it's static, and it was, you got what you got. But of course, science has disproved that. Our brain can, provided that we're using it, our brain can always be malleable.
Provided we're using it.
So,
Sorry, you
roughly,
Aussies have a fun way to say things sometimes. I have to
yes,
laugh
that's
at the
true.
metaphors you choose to use.
Well, it is interesting because I do know that, even myself, I no longer I cannot say, oh, I'm getting old and senile, because that's rubbish. That is just our brain. As long as we're using it properly, will actually grow and change we see that when we see these lovely 80-year-olds learning a new language, and we see these people who are really just utilizing their brain like any other muscle in the body. So it is quite exciting, but we utilize that in sleep talk. And I'm pleased to 50 years ago, there was no such thing as neuroplasticity. But of course, now it's becoming mainstream, and that we are all starting to work out just how wonderful our brains are, how wonderful our subconscious is, and how it drives us to, as you say, bigger and better things. So we utilize that in sleep talk.
I love that. I really, really love that. I know that I've experimented with numerous subconscious things to listen to, or check out how I might change in various ways, or what I might understand if I listen to something while I'm sleeping. And like I play around with that kind of stuff just because I'm curious. And so it makes me wonder if this would be something that eventually might expand to adults. Who knows?
Well, yes, at the moment you'll be amazed how many parents say to me, how many husbands say, "Can you do it on my wife?" Or wives say, "Can you do it with my husband?" It's like we all have that passion, I think, for improvement. And at the end of the day, it's, well, provided your husband is happy about you doing that, absolutely.
Right, right. Of course, there's got to be agreement. But then, but then I think that, agreement aside, it works. It just
Yeah,
simply works.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's we like to say that, provided that parents are consistent, and when we say consistent, we try to get you to do it every day. It only takes 3 to 5 minutes. And over time, we know there's a 100% guarantee that it's going to work. Parents are going to see the positive changes. And that just is an amazing process when you think of what else is around.
That is so fabulous. So if a listener is listening now and they're thinking, Kerre, I want to know more. How do I talk to you? what should they do?
Oh, definitely reach out via my website. I have two. I have the Sleep Talk website. It's called The Sleep Talk Process, but I also run my business, which is creating functional families. And so if people want to, if they go to either website, they can sign up, Dinalynn, and we can have a 15-minute chat. And I do that virtually. It's via a calendar. And I say 15-minute coffee chat because, yes, normally that's the time it takes me to have a coffee. And we can just have a chat about what the family's up to, what their challenges are, and if I can help them, I will.
That sounds fabulous. And so I will then have those contacts in the show notes for you listeners so that you will know how it is you can get in contact with Kerre. And Kerre, I think you also have a free gift for the listeners. Is that
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I find, Dinalynn, is particularly this time of year, we have a lot of parents who may be pulling their hair out. It might find that the just keeping their children amused or even spending, a large amount of time with their children every day. Sometimes it can be really hard for us parents, if we're a little anxious or a little stressed, to actually see and comment on the good that the children provide us every single day. And I've spoken to parents who tell me that their children never do anything good. And I'm thinking, well, they do, but you're just focusing on the negative. You're not looking at you're not grateful for some of the things that your children bring to you. And so I've designed a little, it's nothing much, but it's about 40 phrases that are just positive for parents. And we've made it very colorful. You'll see I encourage parents to pop it on the fridge and use it as a resource. When all of a sudden you notice something, you can actually quickly look at the fridge and come up with a phrase or a saying or something that will actually just be really positive, really a nice affirmation. And you don't keep using the same phrase. This is what I think a lot of parents do. They might have, oh, that was really good work, son. It's too blasé. It's not specific enough. And when it's repeated over and over, children start to just shut it down and think, oh, she doesn't really say anything else to me. So I had this poster put together just as a resource for parents, just to remind them, especially for the younger children. I also have a teenage one, which is again interesting. So I will send those to all the parents on today. And it's my way of, just knowing that, you'll get through these long days, but you want to do more than that. You want to reconnect and you want to make your child consciously, we're going to handle the sleep talk subconsciously, but consciously you want to know, you want your child to know how fabulous they are.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is, yeah, to be intentional about rewriting the story in their mind by telling them the good part of what's going on, especially in the incident when they're behaving in not the way you want them to. Am I right?
Well, it certainly validates them. And there is an argument at the moment that people are being told by child experts, and I'm certainly not a child expert, but they're being told, don't praise your children. And unfortunately, I think they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. What they're really trying to get across, I understand that research is saying that children, inauthentic praise, children can damage a child. Inauthentic praise can actually make things worse. So you don't praise a child if they really haven't done anything to deserve it. But this is why the poster is so important, because at the end of the day, I think you do have to be positive with children.
Right.
You do have to basically, it's they need to know that you unconditionally love them. And so at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it is, please never, if I've got any parents from today, continue to praise and tell your children how beautiful they are and how gifted you are to actually be part of their process. But just understand that, yes, if you find yourself with this, with a words or series of words that you just say it for the sake of saying it, then throw that out and go and check out your positive poster.
That's fabulous advice because it is very easy to get into the routine of saying, oh, that's cool. That's awesome. When awesome becomes a word that isn't awesome. It becomes a word like good. It loses its punch. And then there's And it doesn't specifically say what the child did versus like saying to the child, I saw that you worked really hard on that and you were successful. Well done. It's
Yeah.
specific for the child's effort, and it's focused on acknowledging what you saw the child do, not something that just like that they have no control over. It helps them move forward.
No,
Anyway,
that's
that's a
exactly
whole nother
right.
topic though that we could go into.
Well, yeah. As you say, communication is I love my sleep talk, but yeah, communication is also super, super important. And unfortunately, it gets bantered around today as just a word as well. But that is a whole new series.
That's fabulous. All right, one thing I always try to close with is asking my guests, even though you've given so much valuable information, if you were to leave the final thought to be something that's practical, something that parents can do, besides come get your gift, because they're going to do that, I'm sure of it. What else can they do?
Laugh. Definitely laugh. I'm a laughter leader, which doesn't help, but Dinalynn, we all take ourselves way too seriously. And sometimes when you read about, different parenting strategies, I just say throw it out the window and just enjoy it. You only have 20, 25 years, and those beautiful little lambs of yours actually will be leaving the flock. They will go off on their own. And so you need to have fun, you need to laugh and see the funny side of your children, even if they're teenagers. I look back now and I'm thinking, I wish I would have laughed more with my first 4 boys, because I think there was so much missed opportunities where I was lucky, and because my 5th, I was able to do a lot more laughing. But yes, that's my take. Just stop being so serious and enjoy the 20 years.
I
Hopefully
love that.
you'll have lots of information to blackmail them with when they're in their adulthood.
Oh yeah, we've all got that. I
Yes.
I love that advice because laughter has so many good health benefits. It has relationship benefits. It has neurologic benefits. Your oxygenation is improved. I mean, so much in your whole body and heart and soul improves with laughter. So fantastic.
It's contagious. So
It
I
is.
guarantee you.
Yes, laugh and give somebody else a laugh.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure, Dinalynn. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to hear from the readers. Please, even though I'm in the other side of the world, reach out. I'd love to hear from everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kerre, for being here today. And yes, listeners, look in the show notes. You will see her links, her free gift, and do follow up with her because this is a phenomenal program that she has shared with us today. And I hope you take advantage of it. Thank you again, Kerre.
No problems. Bye.
Hey, parents, I hope you found this episode helpful. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who also lives or works with children? I would really appreciate it if you would leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I read every review, and it lights me up to know that this show is making a difference. Then come join my Facebook community, where you'll meet other parents who are dedicated to helping their children grow too. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me. Now it's time to go. Let's pop our kiddos in the strollers and go look around outdoors and see what we have to talk about.